essential to and parallel with our scientific efforts, and so we'd like to start out with that if we can.
Yes, please.
I can't put Amy as a co-host. Aloha mai kākou.
Aloha.
Ono o le aka'ahaina o Mauna loko o lau poko wildlife. As Dave mentioned, e maui, ave ave, ke kapa, maui, and innovation. Maui pa'akala, Maui, he looks beyond the status quo and captures and slows the sun, and takes the necessary steps to work through the challenge until he achieves the goal. Ke kapa ohina, protect our imperiled Mauna hele from extinction. As we highlighted in our informational briefing at our previous meeting, these forest birds have strong pilina with both Hawaii culture and answer any questions, and I will turn it back over to Dave. Mahalo.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, last meeting we had a informational briefing for the board. Had a lot of information involved in that. We have a lot of the information still in the submittal with the environmental assessment. But basically we're proposing to employ a landscape scale mosquito suppression operation on East Maui to control invasive mosquitoes that spread avian malaria to our native forest birds and are driving them to extinction. We have four birds that are in imminent danger of sliding to the point where we're not going to be able to save them anymore. But there's a whole bunch, several species of birds that are in continue to thrive in different countries. This time we're trying, so we don't really see any both the species, it's very tails they lay, trying to make a different. So all we're trying to do is get it into the male mosquito. We chairperson stabilize and recover the populations of critically. Whole team of people here to answer. I know we have a bunch of folks that are here to testify. So that is my summary for the time being.
Just introduce
in the kingdom. It's just part of replicating, but it's not technically a living organism. Those diseases, so living
Some of the bacteria or not, but their digestion, ingest. Is that a fair
in the
relationship
yes,
with
but yeah, there's also what we call good bacteria. It's not going to kill.
and that is different. Okay, and I'm trying of the genetic technique had been, used technique or that technology is being applied here. So could you just explain or maybe contemplating today?
Yeah, we might be willing to give you a much more informed answer.
Yeah, we would be applicable for eradicating mosquitoes altogether. We did not choose that technique.
So I can just read it. I have it open here. It's on page 1. Potentially considered but dismissed. So this is not what we are considering before us, right? Limiting gene that when passed to offspring prevents the offspring. There has been considerable public resistance to this method in Florida. For the board and for everybody who may be commenting, to keep in mind that comments should pertain to actual decision making, that is genes and genetic modification. That is not what we're discussing today. And so I would suggest that for many people, that is not our job as the board to consider. We're not here to adjudicate issues of vaccines, and so I would hope that we could limit the discussion to endangered.
Darlene, do we have do you guys have the slide, the FAQ slide that you guys gave us in the IB last meeting? I was saying, like, it's okay.
One slight problem doing the information briefing prior, and we didn't have the entire presentation. And Cynthia can get good because it lays out a number of the issues that folks have.
Member.
Chair.
That's okay. That's okay.
Board member. Anyway.
Don't be elevating her.
Anyway. No, we do already have Wolbachia, and so we would have no problem getting rid of mosquitoes altogether. That's not what this is going to do. This is just trying to suppress the numbers of mosquitoes stinging them. The mosquitoes that we're releasing are all males. They don't sting. They don't bite people. Whatnot. So a problem like a female bite, they have Wolbachia already. It's not like they're giving you something. It's just they're just trying to get a blood meal so they can reproduce, and the other thing with the mosquitoes is they only live a very short period of time. So, some people say, well, what if a few right out of the population in a very short period of time? So,
Any other questions?
Chair, if there are no other comments.
I have one comment. I'm going to go. I greatly appreciated one at the invitation assessment, and I appreciated that. So, I think that this was extensive, quite comprehensive, and a lot of thought was put into this to go through the materials that's been presented. And I do have a lot of comment. I do have a lot of people wanting to provide, open it up for public comment. I have received, I have a list. Right, Darlene? You gave me a list?
Yes, I gave you a list, but I'm not sure if anybody present. You want to take a look at yourself? Aloha, Tara Rojas, and I just want to say that I've been following this from when it first, excuse me, what was your name? Tara Rojas. And I was in following from the beginning, from last year when the idea just first came up that this was going to happen. Now, the issues I have with it, yes, I'm all for saving the money. That's a given. However, this process of doing, because you're saying, I'm going to say this, never have I seen that company ever with their extensive, writing go against anything. It's always Asian. There are only seven Native Hawaiian, and one of them I think was non-Kanaka, and so you got it down to like 6. I went to the online public meetings, that were, given, maybe like 20, and if you're not just living and going to work and doing everything, where are you gonna find this? And then when you look at it and you dig deeper, these are all, of course, outside of Hawaii. Non-Kanaka, speaking for Kanaka.
Ms. Ramos, I'm going to ask you if you can summarize.
So I'm going to summarize that I am against, this. The Na'au just speaks, and mosquitoes, especially because of the helicopters that are going to be flying. If anything, they even stated in the report that that's one of the concerns that possibly could even adversely affect the amount of trips that they're going to take. So helicopter, by drone, just know, and.
Okay, so, is there anybody else in this room who'd like to testify? If not.
Lorraine?
Oh,
Is there Lorraine?
I'm sorry. Come on now. Go ahead, please introduce yourself.
My name is Wonderful Hilo. I'm here because I strongly support the Maui NPS Wubaki IATEA and the finding of visiting fishermen Foundation and raising that they could be tested for eggs or mosquitoes. I want our forest birds to thrive. And so available to assist in finding the nail in the coffin, moving the lost. Improve the EA and
Yeah, 500,000.
Yeah.
So which is about 200,000 birds. So thank you for bringing that up. I think that's a very important.
I have, is it Lupani Koya?
Hello, my name is Luca Nicole Salvas. I'm too in support of the Mauna side. And from a young age, I learned that Ahui Mauna to gather your birds, and I really enjoyed all the birds that I lived and grew up amongst. And then I come to find out as I grew up that those birds didn't always call that place home. And that the birds that did call that place, like and the alpacana and the mosquito and the field, is just trying as much as solutions to problems that we have created, even if it's not on purpose. And my hopes and my dreams are that, this can help the birds on Maui and then go to Hawaii and then be able to then, so that my son, who also now lives in Ahui Mauna, will be able to grow up and then maybe have an EEV be in his backyard, and they have his kids say, Ahui Mauna is now a gathering of not only our non-native birds, but also of all of our native species again. So I just want to echo what you will be hearing, that this is a safe method that has been tested around the world in different ways to help with human diseases, and I'm excited to see this being brought here to Hawaii to help our bird friends. Mahalo nui.
Mahalo. Thank you very much. And next have, I'm sorry, Joanna Manning? Mamie, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Please.
Artist, a small business owner, and a volunteer for the Hawaii Wildlife Center. My artwork is featured on this year's Hawaii Conservation Stamp, and I'm here to assist by social media, art, and volunteerism. Social media groups focusing on individuals' dreams tied to human activity, including the introduction of mosquitoes and the rapid advancing of climate change that allows these pests to climb higher into the last caves and globally, we can be confident moving forward. The concerns of the opposition have been thoroughly addressed by the science community. However, we continue to hear the same fearful speculations repeated. In response, I would like to remind the board that the introduction of the mongoose was not in fact the result of a study being created in the Wolbachia technique, because this bacteria already exists in the environment around us. There's no gene altering taking place. There's no chance of creating a new type of mosquito. These are the same mosquitoes that have spread all over the world, and will be using the same method to mitigate their numbers as other countries. There will always be members of the community whose fear never progressed to the places we are now. The fear manufactured around something already successfully in use type in place could prevent suffering, loss of life, and the economical impact of a public health crisis in the future. I beg the board to not delay this program. A time-consuming EIS will seal the blooming for species that mean a great deal to Hawaiian history, of Hawaiian culture, and Hawaiian identity. We need immediate action. Postponing this program for further redundant studies would be like asking a qualified EMT to go to a refresher form of real-world successes. Now is the time to make the decision to move forward.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Next, I have Trevor Taylor.
Holding this hearing today. My name is Trevor Taylor. I'm the Director of Conservation of the Nature Conservancy here in Hawaii and North Mauna. The Nature Conservancy strongly supports the Hawaii Department of Land and Natural Resources proposal to prevent the extinction of endangered native forest birds by suppressing populations of the invasive Culex mosquitoes in Maui. We ask the board to approve the final environmental assessment and authorize chairperson to issue a finding of no significant. We're on the verge of losing going extinct over this next year. Nature Conservancy are killing these birds. BLNR's EAs of a finding of no significant impact for the East Maui EA.
Mr. Taylor, thank you. Dr. Taylor or Mr. Taylor? Mr. Taylor. You said 4 species in the next 10 years, 1 akiki in the next year, correct? How many are extinct?
I believe there were 70 species of honey creepers. We're down to 17.
Down to 17.
We may lose 4 in the next 10 years if we don't take action. And they're declining all over.
Yeah, I just wanted on the record the numbers that we're talking about. This is not insignificant. You know, 70 species down to 17 should make everybody's jaw drop. So thank you. I just wanted it on the record.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. I appreciate it. It was very concise. Thank you. The next person, Lane, did you want us? Oh, okay. Please, thank you very much.
Kapuiapiani, group on Oahu, Kapahulu Kaimuki before moving to birds on mosquitoes, to keep waiting to eliminate the birds back and to help bring her.
My name is Koa Matsuoka, and I'm here today testifying as a member of the community. I was born and raised on Hawaiian homestead in Papakolea, and I'm here for 16 years. I've worked with endangered species from plants, forest birds, seabirds, and monk seals, from Hawaii Island all the way to Ho'olaniku, the last atoll in Hawaiian archipelago. Acclimating the endangered kiwi or Maui parrotbill to the landscape before releasing them at the enhancing habitat to harbor Hawaii's most endangered species. However, even after years of restoration and creating forests that could sustain the kiwi, I watched the first translocated kiwi close its eyes and die in my hands. This was a call to action and brought to light that now the biggest battle for forest birds is not habitat loss or predation, it is mosquitoes. It was available in time to save these birds from disappearing forever. Something else. The akikiki on Kauai is already projected to go extinct in the wild this year. 2 Hawaiian forest birds have already gone extinct in my 31 years on this earth, and I refuse to let the remaining 17 do the same. Generations to come will never see the Mauna that created Kamehameha's Ahu'ula because they went extinct decades ago. With our current tools and resources, let's stop the i'iwi for going extinct and not deprive our children of the privilege to see where symbols of our heritage came from, such as a kahili or Nahi'enaena's pa'u. How many more pieces of our culture do we have to lose at the hands of invasive species? Conspiracy theorists cherry-picking data and misconstruing results to fit the narrative of some alternative reality. This EA is a result of decades of peer-reviewed scientific literature, and I urge you to approve this with a Fonzie and not allow misinformation to decide whether Amanu Kupuna get to exist in this world or not. I want to end with an our natural resources and prescribe as a result.
So I have.
Right.
Sorry about that.
Wolbachia is a tool to control the infestation of mosquitoes here in Hawaii. Just a little bit about myself. I was born and raised on Oahu, grew up in public, trying my hardest to protect and preserve the few endangered plants, snails, and birds in Oahu's remnant forest. And I have a very close relationship with mosquitoes. You know, as a kid, I would have never thought that I'm in the aquarium today. And I only say this because as a child, I only knew forests infested with mosquitoes. This all changed when my brother took me to Phuket on Kauai. We were hiking and we found a nice mossy spot. And I looked up and I remember seeing for the first time up upon an MEEV right above me. Fascinated, you know, to see these birds that I only knew from pictures and songs. And to see it for the first time, real embodiments of the forest. But something was off. For the first time, I didn't hear buzzing in my ears. And I was in constant battling the onslaught of mosquito attacks. And that's when I understood that and have the relationship with the Aina to become Aina, children of the land. I think it's time we utilize all the tools in our toolbox. It's time to bust out the hammer. Wolbachia has been studied in depth and proven that it is safe and effective for controlling mosquito, dengue, malaria, and Zika, just to name a few. And as we know, avian malaria and avian pox for native birds here in Hawaii. These are the plants and animals. They have the right to exist.
That's cool.
Chris Wong.
Land Natural Resources.
Good morning.
My name is Christopher Wong, and I speak today representing myself and my friends and colleagues who are not able to be here today. I am testifying in support of the approval of the environmental assessment to allow for the implementation of the incompatible insect technique on the island of Maui to help save Maui's endangered forest birds and insects. For birds, however, the equation is not so simple. Hundreds of acres, the Oahu Forest National Wildlife Refuge, for example, is approximately 4,525 acres. Despite this statistic, only 4 species of Hawaiian forest bird are found on Oahu. One of them is critically endangered. Spread west to the forests of Mars, elevation. Mosquitoes cannot reproduce well, but time is running out. As climate change continues its slow march upwards, so too does the environment in which avian malaria can take hold. Through birds, plants, snails, and insects all discovered what they need and helping the foundation for what we are today. The incompatible insect technique will take years to implement and many more years to see results. I dread the day that our Keiki people cannot name a single native forest bird. And that is why I urge the Board of Land and Natural Resources to approve the environmental assessment to allow the implementation of the incompatible insect technique with Maui's native forests. Thank you for your time.
Mahalo. That's all that I have. Go ahead, please.
Montgomery and are beneficiaries of this sort of program. In 1973, and the birds and plant life found the first po'oli. It's extremely sad that 20 years later it disappeared from the earth, probably because of mosquito disease and a few other alien invaders like rats. But we have a chance here using modern science. My doctorate is from UH and the master's on flies that are living on plants, lobelias that are pollinated by these birds, and a doctorate on insects that eat flies and mosquitoes. And none of these techniques work. When I was working as a consultant with Kamehameha Schools, we had a student, brilliant students who won a prize to go to the National Science Fair in St. Louis under Charles Burroughs. They tried a mosquito bacterium, Bacillus thuringiensis, which you could put in a pond and the larva would eat it, and the guts of the mosquito larva dissolve existing bacteria that are mixed and matched to cause this incompatibility. So as a person who began my career in 1964 working in a mosquito lab at University of Notre Dame, raising yellow fever mosquitoes, and as a person involved with flies my whole life, at age 12 I was asked to donate a fly to the National Museum because it was so unusual and so different. So as an authority on these kinds of difference, I think you're moving in the right direction. I congratulate this board and And let's go to it so that during my lifetime, we won't see another extinction. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Montgomery, first, I love the Palaka shirt.
It's very
So
comfortable.
you, back in 1964, were you aware of Wolbachia?
As a matter of fact, even though I had an excellent teacher, Oswald Bushnell, a famous microbiologist and author at UH, no, I never heard of it. I've learned a lot, and I'm impressed with the 248 pages put together, and I'm impressed that this board has spent so much time getting up on Mosquitoes Not Birds program. Terrible mistake to make, something that's so difficult from the beginning to understand. I'll have to write to the Star Advertising. But we have a chance to save some of these birds, maybe a last chance. I could visit my friend David Boynton's cabin and listen to Evie outside the bedroom window. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, no longer, because of the climate change and the mosquitoes breeding higher and higher in the mountains. So it's absolutely essential that we lose no time whatsoever in using our best available science and try to educate folks who have these erroneous assumptions about what's involved.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Is there anybody else in the audience here that would like to testify on an item? And then I'm going to go to those on the Zoom. Okay. So I have got a list of 22. I'm going to call out the first two, and then after that. So the first one is Kumu Kaunaoa Garcia, and after Kumu is going to be Melina Cabrera. Excuse me. So, Darlene, can you let them in?
They're in.
Okay, go ahead. Kumu? Please go ahead and introduce
Aloha.
yourself.
Aloha kako.
Aloha.
Can you guys hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, mahalo. Ena maka maka mena kupa mai Hawaii ani ihau. Velina me ke aloha. O wau o Kaunaoa Garcia, no lana I wau, a ka keia maula noho wau ma Waikapu Maui. He kumu kaiapuni wau ma ke kula kaiapuni o Nahi Ena Ena ma Lahaina. A o wau I ka papa e ha'elima. Aloha everyone, my name is Kaunaoa Garcia. I am originally from Lanai, but now I live in Kalamai. I'll continue in Hawaiian and then I'll tell you guys what I said in English again. Ka'umau hau ma'ana I o pe o'u. Ua noi I lako, ua a'o lako e pili ana I na manu Hawaii. I ke ia pahana me ke ia ko'ohune Wolbachia. He Hawaii au a kana e kako o wau I ke ia pahana. Kako o pu, ka'umau hau ma'ana. Ia oko me kia pa kiwikiu I koe. Ua ike maka mako I elua kiwikiu ma Maui Bird Conservation Center. Ke kahi ua mai me ke ia mai malaria I loko o ka pahu. Ma leila lako e na hoi. O ka olalo no e au o ko ka kupuna. He ali'i ka manu. He ali'i ka manu. Ea, ma ki ia kula, o ia hoi o Nahi Ena Ena. I ke kako, he pa'u o Nahi Ena Ena. He pa'u iwa kālua, kapua I ka lo'ihi, e lua me ka hapa ka laula o ko mele mele ko Nahi Ena Ena pa'u. Leila nana, pehea ka nui o na manu e pono ai no ke ia pa'u no ko kako ali'i. No leila, kako o nui wau ia oko me ke ia pahana. I'll try to shorten what I said in Hawaiian, but...
Alia. Ole ini e holomua me holelo malihini.
I just wanted to reiterate, if you see the picture in back of me, those are my students. They did research this year on all of the manu. We discovered that mosquitoes was one of the big pilikia. And so we support this project because we know, as I said earlier, there's like less than 200 kiwikiu here on Maui, which is one of the 4 endangered species here in Maui that we got to physically see. We learned Manu part at Nahi, and the people of Lahaina have made 1 million of o'o feathers. The majority of her pa'u is mele mele with a little bit of ula ula, which is probably EEV and apapane. Support of this project. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Mahalo. Number.
Oh, I just wanted to thank you for the letters from your students. They were really incredible. So thank you for encouraging them to be a part of this process.
Mahalo. I have 3 of them willing to testify right after me right now. I have 3 brave ones.
No, they testified at our informational briefing last month too, so thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So, okay. So, thank you. So,
Melina?
Yes. Oh, Melina, yes.
Melina.
She may come up. Melina? Baby. Introduce yourself first and then go ahead.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Ano ai e BLNR e ha. A o kumu kano wa ko ukumu no wau I Lahaina Maui. A kia na kumu ka ko a ya se e lua. Ina a ohe makika ma Hawaii a ole loa a ana